We're live, so welcome to episode 21 of Unplanned with Phil Bland, and today I've got David MacDonald with me. I've really wanted to speak to David because he's been working on a packaging company called Cullen, and they've got a lot of kind of exciting products that they make for clients. He's also involved in kind of sports with his football club and things. So I just thought he'd be a great person to explore his business journey and experience traversing this thing that we call life. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be
Uh,
here.
I guess, I'm just talking about the here and now at the moment. So
Yeah.
how is the here and now for you? How are you experiencing this unprecedented time?
It's quite strange because the two companies you were just mentioning, the football club, standstill. Everyone furloughed, nobody in the stadium. I was actually at the stadium this morning. I was a wee bit wet, but got back in time. But the football side stopped completely. And then on the other side, Cullens, as you were saying, the eco-friendly packaging company and products, we've never been busier. Never been busier. Our biggest areas is the NHS, hospitals all around the world, 33 countries, and then also the supermarkets. So it's been a strange adapting to one side completely stopping, and on the other side being in
Ramping
the
up.
office all the time. From morning right through till night, we're doing 3 shifts. The machines aren't stopping, just to keep obviously up supply for the hospitals and the supermarkets. So,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, personally, I've not seen too much difference. I don't have a family. I live with my girlfriend. My business isn't far from where I live, so I can walk to work. So to be honest, for me, touch wood, things have been going okay. But I'm
Nice.
mindful for a lot of people, it's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Definitely.
How are you managing to keep everyone at the club? So which football club is it, just for everyone?
So Hamilton. So I'm majority shareholder at Hamilton Football Club. I have been for 3 seasons now. My family have got a long history in football, hence why I'm in the position I'm in today.
Mhm.
And then Cullens obviously is the other main business.
So, and just like at the moment, how are you keeping everyone kind of together in the club? Is there like a community supporter groups and all that? How are you kind of keeping the morale up when things are a bit crazy at the moment in that area?
It it was difficult beforehand, because of the unknown, because there was no answers from FIFA, there was no answers from the SPFL. But fortunately enough, all the owners got together over the last 2 weeks over Zoom. So Zoom's helped a lot over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But we all had discussions, and then we were able to come to the agreement that the league should end. And that was really important, because for the league to end, you can then draw the line in the sand, and you can deal with contracts, you can get your house in order. Before then, it was very difficult, because anybody's contract that was ending by summer, did we have to extend a contract if we had more games to play?
Mm.
Or it was a really difficult time. People have got families, people maybe are wanting to move on, things like that. So that was tricky, but it's certainly better as of last Friday. I would say
Yeah.
things really
I, th-
calmed down. Everybody's quite calm now, to be fair.
I think football is and sport in general is such a big part of people's lives, and that's just one of for people that don't support a team or follow it, and it's not part of their kind of weekly life, it's hard to kind of understand. But if it's like such a big part of your friendship groups and things, and then it just comes to a standstill,
Yeah,
I can imagine it feels very strange not to have that part of your life with you anymore.
definitely. And for me, it was my family's passion, my father's passion. I've grown up my whole life in football, whether it was 12 years old at Maryhill Juniors cleaning boots and lining the pitch. And so from that, the love of the club and of the football has been excellent.
Mm.
But definitely when you get to where I am within football, you kind of lose the love of the actual game itself. It's more business orientated, and you probably see a lot of sides of it that kind of tarnish it a little bit for you. Still love the club, love what we're doing. We use the stadium. We've got a big community outreach. We do a lot with Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. We run a charity out of there called Blameless, which we help underprivileged kids, kids with addiction. So I think more of that side to me is extremely important. I run that with our partner Colin McGowan, who is the face of all of that.
What was it like getting into like kind of the backstory? What was it like? I know people probably that watch this will have experiences maybe of being part of a family business. So how was that for you, obviously, and kind of different aspects of business, whether it's in the football or other aspects like parent-son relationship, all the members of the family. How was that?
You want the honest answer or no? I'm only joking. To be fair, I've been really lucky. I've got an amazing family. That's not me just giving you the PC answer. And I think certainly I was never involved at the beginning. I came from a labouring, building background. I left school very early, not much qualifications, and I worked really hard. And I think I started my own business after that, and it done quite well. And then really when I entered, maybe I can explain more further on, but when I entered back in to Cullen's, which was originally my dad's business, it was a corrugated business. When I entered into that, yeah, obviously times were difficult because I think I was maybe not being told what to do. But yeah, to be fair, over the years, I think with earning my trade, with doing all the hard work at the beginning, certainly nothing was given to me at all.
I think a lot of the time in family businesses, from my experience talking to people, like egos can get involved, where and you've got to kind of figure out what different people want from the situation. Does somebody care more about being the face of things? Somebody just want responsibility for certain aspects. How do you split the money? How do you make people feel like they're kind of have ownership and things like that? So it's a tricky one, especially when emotions are involved.
Yeah, and it couldn't have been easy from my dad's point of view as well. But I think what helped with the business was that Cullen's was Scotland's largest independent corrugated manufacturer. But when I entered the business, we together entered into a new area. And that really helped, I think, split things down the middle.
Right.
And then I've been there since we bought it back was 11 years.
Right.
So I've now purchased the business from my dad. I've done that a year and a half ago.
Right.
So it's now on my own.
All the responsibility.
But no, it hasn't been too hard, to be honest. Looking back at it, maybe at the time it was frustrating, but now not so much.
Yeah. I am just looking at my battery, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to go and grab a charger. Sorry, one second. That's what happens when we go live.
No
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, great.
I'll check my bathroom as well. We're at
it. So I guess that's the point to kind of. So you entered the Cullen's business. You kind of built it up with your dad, and then so you split it up. How's it transitioned over the over the years that you've been in the business, and what are your kind of strategy now that like going into eco packaging and things like that? I know it's a priority for you.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest. I think we've been fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. So as I said, when I got into Cullens, we purchased the company back nearly 11 years ago. I had a business before that. I had sold that. I was actually going to move to London and had no desire to be in Cullens. But then when I know we had a lot of really good staff at Cullens, I know my dad was very proud of that, what he built. Obviously, I cherished that as well. So we wanted to go back in and support the team and make things good again, because the previous owner who purchased it off my father, he lost a lot of money in a short period of time. People's jobs were at risk, and it's a big employer for the area that we're in. So yeah, at that point we got back into it, and it was corrugated boxes. So when you make a box, which is boring, I get it, right? But the offcuts of the box, what we used to do was collect that and have to almost pay to get rid of it, because it was at that time there were so many boxes, there were so many craft manufacturers. Um, so we had a building background and some engineering. So we said, right, we must be able to use this waste, in a positive way, and use it to create something new. So we didn't start it from an eco-friendly point of view. So then what we done was we made large machines that we build still to this day, which gives us a lot of strength. And we take the male and female tool and we press the craft into products. So we started quite like industrial products, so maybe protecting DVD players, computers, stereos, things like that. And then over the years, we really developed it and fine-tuned it to be more precise, more delicate. And then that's when we were able to get into a lot more markets. Medical is a number one. Produce, you'll use our products every day. They're just not branded because they're sold through a partner company. So yeah, but
so you essentially wholesale your products to a company who then make the sales into the NHS, or
yeah, exactly,
like a distributor.
Exactly. I've certainly never wanted to have a really large sales force, really large marketing team, major overheads, not for us. We're a really strong manufacturer, and I think if we lose sight of that, then we'll definitely lose business, or we won't make as much profit as we're doing just now, unfortunately. So yeah, if we make the medical products that you'll use, they're 98% of UK hospitals. And we're in 33 countries. Chile, Singapore, Australia are probably the furthest afield. So we sell for the UK, we sell into a partner company, distributor, and then they sell it on.
And how does that work in terms of, like, if you've got a new product and a client, or a customer wants, is it driven by what the customer wants, and then your distributor comes to you and says, we've been asked for this, or we've been asked for this new innovation and how we're doing packaging? Or do you do it from a sort of, we're gonna come up with what we think is the right idea and then put it to market? How does that work, given that you're not facing up with it against the customer?
It's a wee bit of both, Phil. To give you an example, if medical and produce that we'll package, 87, I think last year, 87 million avocados worldwide, nectarines, plums, everything you find in all your supermarkets. So on that basis, that'll be a distributor that comes back to us. We've got a good partnership with them. They understand the market, and then we can develop new products. And the same in the medical. The format's pretty much the same. But then more bespoke things. One of the really successful ones we had was packaging muffins. I know that sounds daft, but this was an eco-friendly, biodegradable tray, much better than plastic or any other raw material you can use. and we designed a new way to package muffins going straight into stores.
Mm.
So they saved £1.90 roughly per pack, going into Starbucks, Cafe Nero, all these places, McDonald's. And the good tie up there was that we already sold cup holders to all these places. So that they knew about the company, they knew they could rely on us, we knew we made a good product at a good price. And yeah, so if you can come to us with something bespoke and we can turn it around really quickly. No problem.
And then how do you, so you told me about some of the tough times with the team and you kind of coming, taking over, and so how do you like make the culture of the company work so that everyone feels bought into the vision and the direction? Like, how did you manage to turn that around? It's usually super hard when things get tough to make it better for staff and feel like they're part of it.
Yeah, I think the connection with the staff was always there through my dad, and previously that's obviously been a family business. They knew me, they knew what I was about, they knew I was a hard worker. A lot of the building side tied in with Cullen's as well. So yeah, that was always there. I think they knew we've never really stripped out much money. We've never been those type of people. We like to reinvest in the company, reinvest in our machines that we build that obviously give us phenomenal wealth with the assets that are very, very hard to get to enter into our market space. So I think with the staff, they knew what we were about. They knew they could depend upon us, and even going forward with me, being in such a long time and knowing them, I can't remember of any time where there was any doubt for the success of the business. And then coming back to what you just asked before, the eco-friendly side has just catapulted us, especially for bespoke products. I mean, we can replace any majority of single-use plastics. So if you come to me with a basic tray that's plastic and you want me to replace it, I can do that within a week at high volume. So it's a good area to be in just now. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, so how are things, everyone, we touched on it at the beginning, but everything with the COVID-19 things, are you seeing an uptick in everybody looking for packaging? How's it affected your business in terms of
the biggest plus for the business point of view, and like I said, we wouldn't be able to achieve any of this without the amazing staff we've got. But now people are going to have real concerns over Chinese, Indian supply, which is massive in our game. They are normally our biggest competitors, just due to cost, obviously. And I think people over the years have had a real dependency on China, I think, for many products, not just ours. So I know now they'll relook at that. We've already found that paint tin fitments, we protect majority of paint that gets travelled in the UK. Before that was China. We're up 127% for paint tin fitments, because that used to come from China, and it's an easy product to source. You can get a lot in your containers. So that's a good indication to how much that's going to affect them. Cup holders as well. MacDonald's brought a lot in from China, Greg's, people like that. So now we're in the perfect opportunity to hopefully get that business. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think especially when you see supply chains just stop because all the factories were shut down and people just didn't know what to do because they couldn't, especially and with the NHS with the masks and all of the PPE and things.
I think global footprint as well, that's the next phase of the whole eco-friendly chat. I do a lot of talks down south with people like Nestle, Procter & Gamble, Unilever. We developed some products with them, and I think a lot of people are misled on what is environmentally friendly. And I think once you add in the footprint of bringing, at least a container a day in from China, I mean, that's really not going to help you going forward. And people, rightfully so, are only going to ask more and more questions regarding the environment, which is right to do. So companies will get found out really soon if they're not if they don't actually hold that regard.
Mm. Yeah, it feels like more decisions. I've been talking about this quite a bit on this show with Mark Hogarth from Harris Tweed, or
Mhm.
different people in fashion. But it's the same thing for packaging as well, where a lot of consumer decisions now are moving towards making decisions based on how they feel about the products that they're buying. And maybe if there's a product with loads of extra packaging that clearly just is flashy and it looks good, but it doesn't feel or look as if it doesn't seem worthwhile to have all of that additional paraphernalia on the thing. People are starting to make their decisions less about aesthetically how something looks and more about how they feel about that purchase in
Def-
terms of carbon footprint.
yeah, definitely, and it's not needed. We've got ourselves into a cycle of overdoing things, being totally over the top, and that's become the norm. The more is better. So people are absolutely over packaging their product, and especially for new startups or entrepreneurs, I think that you were talking about before, they don't need that extra cost. They don't need that complexity to their packaging. We've never found so much interest in a plain brown box now because it looks environmentally friendly, it's simple, it's cost effective, it gives a real wholesome feel for the recyclable aspect to packaging. So I think they'll certainly see more of that going forward.
And so everything that you manufacture is that made in the UK?
Everything, absolutely everything's made in Glasgow.
Right.
We're right next to, we've got a really big site, 14 acres beside Dosholm Park. I don't know if you
Right.
know. So right in between Kelvinside and Mulgai, so it's a real good plot of land. Funnily enough, actually, I was thinking of this the other day. When we started out, we had the SWG3 land. That's
Right.
where Cullen started originally.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking by it the other day and I didn't realise I've not been to SWG3.
Yeah, I'd love to get
What
Muttley on. I think I'll try and
was that?
harass him into it. I'd love to get Muttley on, who
Does he
who's
one?
been working on.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's been like developing that piece of land, like piece by piece by piece,
Yeah.
over a long time. So he'd be a great
So,
person to talk to.
you know where the new flats are, but behind the student
Yep.
accommodation. So that was our main site, and I think we
Right.
had the front of that lane, but we sold that and then moved up to Dosholm Park. That was more the building side. But
So when was the company formed? Like, when did your dad start?
so next year is our 100th year of existence, which
Right.
is a great story, especially when you add in that Glasgow's going to have the environmental summit in Glasgow, which hopefully will bring a lot of good attention to what we are trying to do and the company itself. So, yeah, that was obviously not us. I can't take credit for that. But then my dad got involved in 1986 on that site we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And it was just corrugated boxes, simple boxes. We moved up to Doss Home, and then yeah, we've been there ever
And
since.
did he have a partner in the business when he started?
Yeah, so originally the partner that bought him out before I joined, he purchased the business, and as
Okay.
I said, it didn't go very well, and then we were able to buy it back at a good price,
Right.
11 years ago, just over 10 years ago.
Right. Okay. And then it was more of a partnership between your dad and yourself as you joined the business.
Yeah, and we've got two really good directors that without them we would struggle, especially for the size of the business now and how much product we're putting out of Glasgow. Without them, we would, they've been phenomenal so far. But yeah, the four of us have guided the business to where it is today. And then the more obviously me getting involved, and then I thought it was really important to purchase the company, as I said, a year and a half ago, just to show intent, show the staff that I think when things get handed to you, there's a lot of question marks up the year. Plus, I'd done enough to do that. I'd made the money. I thought, right now, and for my dad as well, it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think about, like, we've all got limited time in life. We've all got a certain number of years. Do you ever kind of think, what, is this something you want to dedicate the rest of your life to working on this for this company? How are you gonna like, or do you have other interests that you want to be involved in? How do you think about the future?
Um, I think we're just getting started, to be honest. This environmental cycle to help the planet, I care a lot about. I'm very passionate about it. We're really just starting, and I think we've got a fantastic opportunity to be very innovative, create new products, and give solutions to problems that we all face day to day. We're working on that right now. We've got some amazing products coming out. There's one product that I'm extremely excited about. So yeah, I don't that passion's there. That won't go. Speaking freely, I probably could sell up and just enjoy my life, but I'm 34. I'd have got no desire to do that. And there's so much to do. There's so much to conquer. So yeah, I would do that. Definitely do that.
And is it just the enjoyment of the kind of game of business that is something that you enjoy at this point?
Yeah, if you know me, I'm quite a straight to the point person. But yeah, definitely, I would want to the business aspect plus the team that have been with me and helped. I've brought on a few people along the way, and they've been excellent, really supportive, and been phenomenal at their job. And I want everybody to do well from the area that we're in just now, because I really, like I said, I think the company is just really getting going. We rebranded, so yeah, the passion for the business is definitely there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if you've got any thoughts on replacing plastics, give me a shout.
Just on the point about China, I get that everyone's kind of wanting to diversify their supply chains and make sure that they have access to packaging from wherever, but obviously the main draw for most companies is being footprint is high. The cost has been so low in China. So do you think that it's going to be sustainable? People are going to like they want to buy more packaging more locally, even when things return to normal. How are we gonna?
Yeah, well, I certainly think there's certain things where China will always be a force to be reckoned with. I don't see that dying out anytime soon. I think you will see a lot of new areas coming on, India being one. I've been out to Mumbai a few times looking at sugarcane factories and bagasse, things like that, which you'll find a lot in your catering, really nice white, like vegware and people like that. I don't know if you know their products. So that kind of product. So I think there's always definitely going to be a time and a place for these low cost manufacturing. And even if it moves away from China, there will always be another one. Before it was Taiwan and etc. So there'll always be a place to go for cheap labor. I do think people now are definitely getting on board with the sustainability, living within your means, local manufacturers, local suppliers. And I definitely think we'll see a massive growth in that, which we're already seeing. Plus, there's the communication aspect. People like dealing with people. And I think if we can get around the table and we're clearly trying to do something that's good for the environment and the United Kingdom or Europe, I think if they can see you're trying your best and doing all you can do, they'll support you in that. I've not came across too many people that it's just raw in price. If you can get in front of them and discuss that, they'll always give you a fair crack of the whip.
Yeah, and quite often they want a lasting relationship with somebody that's going to be longer than just getting screwing you down on price in this particular transaction.
Exactly. And coming up and seeing us, and hey, you've got a random idea, which a lot of replacing plastics do. We get the craziest ideas coming in, but you've got to deal with that, because you never know when you've hit a gem, when you've cracked a product that there's a big demand to replace.
Yeah.
I think a big part in that is going to be the general public kind of getting the real information on recycling, sustainability. There's all compostability. There's a lot of words out there that really are fooling you. They're not what they are. And I really hope that a lot of people can get the right information and use that to do good.
Yeah, I've also been talking about this a bit on the show about it's like greenwashing and a bit of hypocrisy and virtue signaling from some companies. People do it too, but companies do it in terms of their brand. They want to be seen to be, looking out for the environment, but actually, when you look under the hood, things aren't as good as they make out.
It's also people's nature and what they do. The problem isn't plastic. Plastic is a phenomenal material. Mm-hmm. It's great, right? But it's the fact that we've relied on it and how our society is adapted to using this material for pretty much everything, and then it's our issue with just throwing things away. Mm-hmm. As you touched on with the packaging, you get all this packaging that you look at for 10 seconds, maybe not even that, and you just throw it away. The way that we do things is what needs to change, not necessarily the raw material.
Yeah. But how do you, I guess, it's like, how do you get consumers to move in that direction? Is it because you just give them what you want them to use, or is it the demand? Is it supply or demand that pushes these things in the right direction? Definitely.
And, we see a lot, as I said, when I do these talks, and the big guys pretend to care. They don't care. They have, a lot of shareholders and investors to give them the returns. They don't want to be putting in so much capital just to change their PET lines for 100 million bottles or whatever it may be. It's difficult for them, and I fully appreciate that. But when there is answers that you can move to for certain products, you need to make the move. Mm-hmm. Because recycling, 9%, the study was done last year, 9% of single-use plastics were recycled last year. 9%. So all of us doing the right thing, putting our plastic packaging in the blue bin, thinking we're doing good, 91% of that is either going into landfill, going into the ocean, or even worse, being sold to third world countries and being burnt. Malaysia, Turkey, so many areas. China have stopped it. China used to be the largest consumer, as you probably know, and then they just said, no, we're not doing this anymore. And good on them, because nobody should be doing that. And yeah, it's just, there's got to be a change, especially when there's products there that you can change over to. It would be good. It would be good if there was some form of like information, like, people do their purchases based on what their friends recommend on Facebook or what they see on Amazon and things. I just sometimes think it would be good to have some sort of application that let you decide your purchases based on what you think of the company. Is that a new business, Phil? Are we starting a business right now? Is that what we're doing? I don't know. But that would be, like that type of information, I think customers value a lot, but they're not really getting it from any source. And it, maybe that's an impartial source would be something that would be good. I wanted to just kind of, before we ended, because would touch on, we're kind of coming out of, lockdown is kind of starting to be eased. Maybe the world will get back to normal. Maybe we'll have another peak. Nobody can read the future, but obviously if things were to return to normal, people will be starting to talk about Brexit again. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on being like a UK manufacturer, distributor across the world? What are your thoughts on Brexit and whether it's going to be positive or negative for the UK and for your business? Okay, how long you got? No, I think export will be affected to a certain extent. We are very we are fortunate that we do not have much competition. Hence why we've been able to grow as quick as we have. It's probably a wee bit baffling thinking, okay, eco-friendly products, there's not much competition, but at our scale of manufacturing and what we do, there really isn't much competition at all. So there's always going to be a real demand for our products. Um, I think things like bills of lading will change. I think there will be some form of tax for duty tax, exporting these products.
Mhm.
Most of what we do, because of the position we're in, is ex works. We don't really get too involved with the actual transportation side of it. They organise everything. But I'd be foolish to think that we won't see some effect on it. But I think with that effect from the medical and produce side, we'll see massive uplift from horticulture with Dobie's, B&Q, Homebase, cup holders with Starbucks, McDonald's, new product, just replacing plastics within the United Kingdom. I think the growth will definitely outweigh the
Mhm.
negative side of it. But I do think it'll be hard for a lot of people. I don't think it's going to be a good 10 years
Mhm.
further on. I think it's going to be extremely difficult, especially carrying all the financial weight that we're going to have to burden from this,
Yep.
which is understandable, but it's not going to be easy. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, especially with all the bounce back loans being given out at the moment. I was talking
Yeah,
to Ross Jones about that, and there's a bit of, just concern because nobody, it sounds great. It's get liquidity out into the market right now, and maybe that money will, feed through and help the recovery in some way because people will be spending it. But the fear is people will just, take these loans and if they save them and then they're paying them back, you just don't know how these things are going to play out basically.
I think timing is going to be a massive part to it. The time of the loans or the furloughed money coming back to people in a timely manner. I don't have too much faith in the government doing that in a timely manner. I hope they do because a lot of people need the money. I think, yeah, in all honesty, I think the virus is just the start. I think there's going to be a lot more worse after the virus. I think that's going to be worse than the virus itself. And I hate to say that. I like to be quite positive.
Mhm.
But at the same time, hopefully, I think you said before in your shows, it'll be a good time to reflect and really reevaluate what matters in your life and focus on what you truly want to do rather than
Yeah.
just living moment to moment and maybe missing the important things. I think hopefully that comes out of it, but it will
Yeah.
be. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I almost feel like right now we're living in a sort of comfortable position because we live in a country where government can borrow unlimited amounts of money. But
Needs to be paid back somehow.
yeah. I mean, it's one thing being getting access to liquidity. It's another thing paying it back. You can have a good credit rating, but it's. I think we were paying back loan leases up until Ed Balls wrote the final check to the US. So I think this will be another one of those things for our generation.
How do you find it? What's your thoughts? Giving your question back to you. What how do you think staff workers will react once they're told to come back to work?
Well, we're already starting to see some of that in England. Obviously, in Scotland, they've not eased the
They're not.
restrictions yet. But um, one thing I've noticed is that while the terminology is if work from home versus can work from home versus can't work from home, there's a there's definitely a class divide in that distinction that isn't necessarily being drawn out, and it doesn't feel. I mean, it's maybe just the reality of things, but it doesn't feel very equitable that certain parts of the economy are being restarted before or others that people can stay at home. It just feels a little bit tough. But to be honest, I think there's going to be it's a lot easier to shut down the entire economy and make a binary decision. Making these piecemeal decisions slowly over time, there's always going to be winners and losers, and people are going to be comparing their industry or their shop versus restaurant or office worker versus manual worker. There's going to be a lot of comparative things that are inherent in human nature, and people are going to be saying, we're not all in this together. Whereas when we went all into lockdown together, it almost felt like a united
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
spirit between everyone. So I think it's just going to be a lot harder to manage, and then there's going to be a lot of fallout politically, obviously, from
Yeah.
that. So who knows?
I guarantee. One thing I thought was quite interesting, maybe you'd like, was right before the lockdown, I had my investment company come see me. We're talking about investments and how we're going to be affected, and I think everyone took that on board. But what was interesting, we got a good chat regarding the way that people do business. So, for example, we have our reps. Let's just say they're going down to outside Heathrow. The cost of flying to Heathrow, the renting the car, the getting the time away, the hotel, the food, and not only cost, the time away from him or her in the office, and then on top of that, time with their family, time, their personal time is so affected. All to have a meeting that we're almost doing like just now.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a really interesting space. I think you're going to see a lot more development and communication, maybe even some, what do you call them, the not the virtual reality, but
Yeah, yeah.
more of
You
a
know,
presence
you feel
within the,
like you're actually and we will feel like we're sitting in
yeah,
the same room with one another.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's two visions of that. The vision where none of us come together and we're all in cities, for example, we kind of all just live out in suburbs and live on our own houses, and we don't actually see each other in person, but we use the power of the internet and technology to virtually come together. But and while this, I guess, experience has shown me and a lot of companies that people can do that, and they can have these great interactions, that and they can also share them online because they're fully documented
Yeah,
in a way. So that's incredible, whereas a lot of the time, if you're having interactions with people, you can't necessarily share them as easily with others.
true.
um, I do think there's something inherent in human nature to like desire physical contact. It's
Yeah,
why people want to hug their granny
of
or
course.
these things. But sometimes maybe business conversations could be definitely a lot more streamlined and
Did,
less.
did you have to do much of that when you were working in the banking or the finance side? And
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of traveling to across the US to various states. When I was in the UK, I was traveling to Ireland a lot, and it was Monday morning travel, come back
yeah,
Thursday evening, and you do wonder um, whether it makes sense for planes and planes full of consultants to be leaving
yeah,
airports on a Monday morning to
mhm,
go and sit in an office when they could be just you
have a-
know working on documents. You can collaborate on documents on Teams. You can track how people are performing. You can jump on a video call with them. It almost feels like a real redundancy, similar to the packaging, in a way where these redundancies could just be completely stripped out of the economy. But it's about changing behaviors, and people are used to
definitely.
acting in a certain way, and you're trying to drive people towards changing their behaviors and their consumption. But also we need to think about how we can change people's behaviors and how they produce things, do work together, these types of
Definitely.
things.
Because when I look back, I had to obviously travel a lot, because when we started the company back, we exported nothing. There was not one product exported. And as I said, we're now in 33 countries. We're doing hundreds and hundreds of millions of products a year. I think we've actually done 1 billion products since we've been back, replacing plastic,
Wow.
which is a good milestone for the 100
Yeah.
years. But,
Yep.
but I was, before I came on the call today, I was thinking back to the times of going to Saudi Arabia and trying to convert the medical health boards to move to this cross-contamination free product that we have, because that's what it does. Plastic, you use it multiple times. Our product has no cross-contamination,
Mm-hmm.
hence why we're busy just now.
Yeah.
But thinking back to the traveling, and going to all these countries to try and convert them and make it happen, you think that there's years almost wasted of days away from your family, and flying's not good for you. Like, it's all fine going to Bali for a retreat, but getting the suit on and flying to Madrid for 2 nights, and
Yeah.
yourself, a lot of that is taking them out for food, wining and dining, and that
Yeah, and
either.
there's I think a cultural element to that. Well, one element is, I guess there's often with business travel, are is this a selfish interest that I want to go away on a kind of business jolly versus is this really necessary? And sometimes people just, go on the business trip because, the budget's there and they're not really thinking about the redundancy in terms of their carbon footprint. But then also, on the business side, do you need to, if maybe not workers working together to deliver results that have been agreed, but when you're wanting to go into partnership with somebody and do a deal, basically, there's an element of wanting to stare somebody in the whites of their eyes and shake their hand and
strangle them.
or really kind of.
I've been there a few times, I'm not gonna lie.
I think that comes after the deal, doesn't it? that comes when you're chasing for payment again. But yeah, there's an element of human nature and trust and cultural things about trust where you can't, maybe technology can't break that divide about building trust between humans.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're right, that trust and communication and relationship that you build, is, we touched on that I think earlier, is so important, and especially when you're going against people like China and India, that's really the deciding factor. Well, I like that guy, I'm more than happy to pay an extra 2 pence for the product. Plus, I know if I call him, I know who I'm speaking to, I know who he thinks, I know what he's trying to achieve. So yeah, you do need that, definitely.
I think a lot of businesses could just streamline everything, but as you get bigger and as the budgets get bigger because for these things, people just don't keep track of them, and then there's just so much redundancy in big companies anyway. So it takes a founder owner, your business or other business people that I'm speaking to, that really feel an ownership. Whereas if you get executives or directors that don't necessarily feel that sense of ownership of the business because they're not the majority shareholders, then they're less inclined to batter down people on prices or stop them from traveling and things.
Definitely. Can I show you one? I think we want to finish up, or
no? Go for it.
I'll show you one thing. So one thing we're working on just now, just when you were touching before about the bespoke side and things like that, just to give you an idea of what we're trying to do. So we've been doing a lot with. Originally, it started, somebody was trying to get us to replace milk bottles, which is obviously extremely hard to do. But we had been working on it for years. And then we started looking into water bottles, which is obviously there's a massive demand for. So we worked with a partner company, and things developed really well. But obviously with water, it's difficult because somebody's consuming the product, and that big lawsuit if anything goes wrong.
Right.
But since then, we've been mastering for non-liquids. We can do liquids up the line, but we're starting with this. So just to get your take on it, this is a product we get from, you can see that's a product we get that I use for vitamins, Vital, don't know if you've heard of them, but that comes in a glass bottle. Glass will biodegrade in normally about 270 years before it leaves this earth. Plastic is actually 450 years before it biodegrades naturally. So if you think about that, a plastic bottle for anything, once you throw that away, and remember 91% of that is not being recycled, that bottle will outlive 5 decades of your family. And I think majority of people in the world still use one per day and throw it away, at least one per day. So compared to that or a plastic, this is just to give you an example of what we're doing. We're working with one of the largest vitamin companies in the world on this just now. So that's the same pack, but it's like a craft natural bottle.
All right.
So the idea behind that is that you would buy this, you would have that on your counter, you would use the vitamins as you do, and then instead of throwing it away, you keep that. And then the company sends you these to refill the bottle. So this bottle will biodegrade in 6 months compared to 450 years.
Right.
It's just molded fiber. It's just paper.
Yeah.
And then the whole sustainability for the company that's selling it, plus doing good for the environment. And the cost is very, very similar.
To putting them all in plastic bottles.
Yeah, plastic. It's cheaper than glass, which a lot of vitamins come in. So we're saying massive interest in that side. And the good part of that is we've got a very bespoke machine that we've built and patented that can do these. So not many people can do these types of products.
Cool.
So is that something you would use if it was available?
I'm just kind of thinking it through. I think this kind of comes, I think this yeah, well, I think it kind of comes down to ease versus, or just buying things just for pure ease of use versus how does the purchase make you feel about what you're doing. And that it comes down to every time somebody throws away something, do they feel like they're doing damage or to the rest of the world. And a lot of these kind of products, it requires one extra step, which is filling it up, but the extra karma benefit that you get as a human being, knowing that you're not destroying the planet every day, is definitely worth it for me. But it's just making that kind of change in mindset. But I think humans are adaptable, and as they see their friends doing these things, they end up thinking actually that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, there's never been a better time to do it. I mean, I would say, in business, the number one problem people face outside of coronavirus, so let's go before coronavirus, would be, sustainability in their products. Yeah. The environment is definitely the number one focus now for businesses, especially people that are manufacturing or, producing goods. And also as well, it's hard to know, like you said before, if you've got an entrepreneur, I think you were mentioning somebody before, for them to go and find that packaging, as you were saying, and get the right information, and then also have probably quite a small volume at that point to have that catered to. Yeah. It's difficult. It's definitely difficult.
Yeah.
But any ideas to replace plastic, just give me a buzz.
Will do.
Or if you want to buy a football club, let me know.
Nah, it'll bounce back in no time. Trust me, you'll be winning the league.
I think it'll end up being good for us, to be fair, the football, because we are, as anyone that knows football, we're in the top league, so Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, but we're the smallest club. We've got the smallest fan base in that league. So we're big in youth football, we're big in developing players and giving players a chance and things like that. But some of the money that clubs are paying their players, it's going to come back to bite them.
Yeah, and that's all just about short term versus building for the long term. If you're, an owner of a club and you're investing in it, over a long period of time in your youth, then you can. It's like when you go to buy plants or trees or whatever, you get a much cheaper price when you buy them when they're young, and then you go to the garden center and then you have to pay crazy amounts of money to get a tree that's been looked after and watered and everything like that. Whereas if you build for the future and you have a long enough time horizon, then you can make incredible results from not that much money.
Definitely, because it's especially in this time when there's no sponsorship money, there's no gates, there's no hospitality, there's no food and drinks and everything else. I mean, for the bigger clubs, I think people are maybe underestimating how much this time is going to damage them, and we've got no idea when it's going to start back again. Looks like it's, we'll be lucky to start again as normal in August. So how long would that have been? 4 months? Maybe even slightly more. I mean, that's a lot.
Hopefully they're training.
Something 30 grand a week. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, hopefully they're all training in the house.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I think on that note, listen, it's been awesome having you on the show. Thanks for taking the time out. I know your time's precious, so thanks for making the time. And speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me, and stay safe. See you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, bye-bye.